So the journal was found originally by Noel, who's Bram's great-grandson. I mean, Dacre, what was your first reaction upon hearing of the discovery?
Well, Elizabeth and I have been searching for either a journal, a diary, a pocketbook. When we heard that Noel had this, it was, how quickly can we get our hands on it and look at it to see which one it is and what it may contain? Wouldn't you agree? I mean, it was just, let's get it.
Yeah, I was just finished up working on Stoker's Dracula notes. So I was sort of looking around for something else to do,
Yeah.
and the timing was perfect.
So once you've found the journal, I mean, what's the next step? How do you go about sort of verifying its contents, doing research, transcribing, which I know took quite a long time?
Well, the first step was getting every page photographed, because he certainly wasn't going to ship off, and we didn't want the original in Toronto and South Carolina. How could we work on it? So it was getting it photographed, and then the file. Remember when it was difficult to get the file
That's
small
right.
enough to send to you, and so we had to then put it on a CD. Once we got each page in front of us, Elizabeth in Toronto and me in South Carolina, it was, Elizabeth, help, can you read his writing? Since she read it so well when she transcribed the Dracula notes, it was, you know, really this labor of sort of love, but putting a puzzle together. What do you think?
Yes, and then when we started to put it all together, we realized that the entries were chronological, but every entry was different from the one before. We figured there was no way we were going to be able to create any commentary for this because it's all over the place. So that's when we made the decision that we would group the entries thematically. But every entry in the journal is in the book. We've transcribed every single one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's important because we want the readers to share the discovery as we have. We certainly aren't the definitive end piece to this. So we made our commentary, but we let the readers look at exactly what Bram put out there for everyone else.
So, I mean, what's the most sort of astounding thing you've discovered, or the thing that most surprised you in the journal?
You go first.
Well, the sense of humor, because so many people think of Bram Stoker as a stodgy old Victorian gentleman. In fact, most of the photos you see of him, the standard photos, he's always got a very serious face. And I was delighted to find so many examples of humor throughout the work. And yeah, I think that probably surprised me. That and the love letter to an unknown lady.
Right.
Yes.
I was taken by his sense of the fact that many different things concerned him, to the point where he would take the time to write them down. It wasn't just romance or gothic horror or humor or politics. It was so much that this man was interested in such a wide variety of things, very diverse things, and that he wanted to make a difference with these things by writing them down and later on either a speech, a toast, a short story, or a novel.
So this journal is set mainly in Dublin, and I mean, Bram was never necessarily seen as an Irish writer. How does this journal change that?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because even though it's changing a little bit now, and there's a little more recognition of him in Ireland, still the general view is that, oh yes, he was born in Ireland. I suppose he's Irish, but he's not really an Irish writer, you know, not like James Joyce or many of the others. However, here we have this journal which gives as good a description of daily life in Dublin, the Dublin street, what was going on, where people gathered, parties, St. Patrick's Day ball, all kinds of
Social
activities.
issues, treatment of
Social
women,
issues, that's
yeah.
right. Little things about women, little snippets of court cases, and so on. It's a great slice of life in Dublin in the 1870s, so I don't think that argument is going to hold much weight anymore.
We're changing it with this, or at
I
least
think so.
Bram is with this.
It's through us,
Yeah.
the conduit.
Absolutely, it needed to be done. I mean, Dublin has got a great legacy of writers, and Bram needs to be recognized that way. And I understand why they've sort of pushed him off to being maybe an Irish writer in London as opposed to an Irish writer.
So I mean, this journal, it does go some way to filling the gaps that have been left in the knowledge that we have of Bram Stoker's life. Is there anything you'd still really like to know about Bram Stoker's life, or one particular thing, or a mystery you'd love to be solved?
Well, in my case, it's still, I'd love to know what caused him to be so ill for the first 7 years of his life. I have my theories about possibly allergies and respiratory issues, but there's still nothing written down like this journal that says, I had rheumatic fever, I had such and such. So that's really a mystery that I can only speculate on based on sort of my experience with young people and the Stoker family that has allergies and respiratory issues. So that's one piece that I'd still love to find. What about you?
I'd like to know more about his relationship with his wife, because there are rumors, and that's all they are, that the marriage was rather strained, and haven't ever found anything concrete to base that on. It's just sort of gossip. But there are a couple of entries in the journal that refer to Florence, and in both cases they're very moving and touching. And so I'd like to know a bit more about that, flesh out that part of his life.
There's one more thing we've got to tell them about. Is it the diary? Remember from
Oh, yes,
Personal
yeah.
Reminiscence about London in View?
Yes, Stoker kept a diary as well.
Yeah.
And we know that. We don't know where it is, it's never surfaced, but we know it because he refers to it himself in the book he wrote on Henry Irving. I think there are about 12 times throughout the book that he references and quotes from his own diary.
In my diary, I write.
In my diary, I write,
Right.
quote, direct quote. And these are very interesting, and oh my goodness, it's somewhere in somebody's attic.
Yeah.
Could be. And,
You know,
and that's what
maybe-
we thought maybe this was.
First we thought that's
Yeah.
what this
Could
was,
this be
yeah.
the diary? So we looked through it for those entries that we had seen in
Yeah.
Personal Reminiscence. It's not here, so we've got something
This is
different.
something
Yeah.
different.
But there's still a diary out there
So
somewhere.
That's right, that's right.
Either destroyed or in a collection, or maybe in a box that somebody doesn't know about.
So do you have any inkling where it might be?
Not
No,
at all.
no.
Not a clue.
So that's the mystery of
That's
Bram
the next
Stoker.
one. Maybe within the next 100 years, hopefully somebody
Yeah.
will find it. Maybe us.
Maybe.
His legacy, other than
What other than
Dracula.
Dracula? Probably his contribution to the theatre, as he was a theatre manager for Sir Henry Irving, the Lyceum Theatre for close to 25 years. And during that time, he pretty well kept the Lyceum Theatre together in terms of its acting as its business manager and arranging for its tours and so on and so forth. And he was much better known in his own day as the manager of the Lyceum than he was as the author of Dracula.
And to that end, his dream, I believe, based on sort of interaction with his father, was that they wanted to better the image of the theatre. And his reviews of the theatre were different. It had the newspaper in Dublin, publishing them in a different schedule. They wanted to elevate the social status of actors and actresses. They did more research than anybody had done. So Bram and Irving were this team that came together with this goal. And I think that's I think we both agree that that legacy of elevating the theater, making it better, and as far as Bram was concerned, the books,
Yeah.
making it account for itself.